We've got these pictures from LA. The curfew came into effect 51 minutes ago. Obviously, from what we're seeing, not everyone's honouring that curfew. The protests continue. What do you make of it, the fact that it's spread through to Chicago and New York and elsewhere?
Yeah, look, I think it's really serious. I think the trajectory is troubling. Looking at it from an international perspective, it goes to a concern that I've had since Trump was re-elected, which is above and beyond his tendency to see international relations in a completely different way from traditional US presidents, i.e., treating allies shabbily whilst being relatively tolerant of dictators like Vladimir Putin. Above and beyond that, there's also the risk that the US just becomes so dysfunctional domestically that it's unable to express its power in any kind of useful way abroad. It effectively becomes kind of useless and paralysed internationally, which is a huge problem for allies like Australia. If we can't rely on it, not just because of Trump's intentions, but just Trump's capacity to actually do it, because he's constantly dealing with civil strife, and he's not making the situation any better. I mean, I do think he's clearly inflaming it.
So with this, obviously, a tinderbox on the streets, the political equation is intriguing as well, as we saw a statement from Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, looking not just like a governor, but maybe as a presidential audition as well, in terms of his remarks earlier. A statement and a speech to the state of California, but with messages to the nation as well, as we see these pictures of police, LAPD on horseback, and then others behind them trying to clear the streets and honour this curfew, David.
Yeah. Look, and I hope that's not motivating Gavin Newsom. I mean, I hope his only motivation is to bring calm, reduce the violence, and get his state back in order. But look, I think he's entitled to the response that he has made, which is to push back on Trump's deployment of both the Marines and the National Guard over Newsom's own objections. It is extremely unusual to deploy the military to the streets in this way. I mean, it's always a worry if you're deploying Marines to the streets, but I mean, the last time the National Guard was deployed against a governor's wishes was 1965, when Lyndon Johnson did it, and that was to protect civil rights activists against the Alabama local law enforcement who are pro-segregation, obviously morally light years apart from the situation we're in now. But if you look at the most recent remarks that Trump has made, not just what he said, but where he made them, which was Fort Bragg, the legendary military base in North Carolina. Trump gave a speech there where he talked about a foreign invasion. He attacked Newsom. He attacked the media. You shouldn't do those sorts of things at a military base. You need to preserve military neutrality, and he has failed to do that. So that is worrying, I think, in the pathway that Trump appears to be on at the moment.
David Wroe, Resident Senior Fellow at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. Thanks as always.
Thank you, Kieran.